When I was young, I met a very beautiful girl. She was just growing up, and I soon became her first boyfriend. We lived in the countryside, where our families farmed. We spent lots of time together, always helping each other. Those were the best days, he said. Welcome to Human Heart Stories. My name is Julie, and today I'll be telling a story called I Chose the Wrong Woman to Marry. This story comes from a man regretting the path and woman he chose. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Please listen with me and help like and subscribe to this channel for more stories on people's true life experiences. And so he says, our love grew by the day. Each day after my chores, I would come by to see her, no matter how late it was. She always made time for me. Other men would try to court her, but she was devoted to me and pushed them away. When we became a well-known couple, other men left her alone. She was faithful to me. She was the type of girl, no matter how little money she made or had, she would always share it with me. Wherever she went, she would let me know. Even so, I was very jealous of her and wanted to make sure she had no opportunity to meet someone else. Sometimes I didn't even allow her to go to certain places without me just because I was insecure. And she would listen to me and not go. As time went by, our relationship only grew stronger. Then one day, she said she wanted us to get married. I told her that we should wait, that I was not financially ready. Then I told her that I wanted to go to the city to find a job so I can make more money and save money for our future together. It'll be for the both of us. She was reluctant for me to go. She said, I would rather you not go. It might change our relationship. I told her to trust me, and that I trusted her, and that I only loved her. If I stay here, there won't be much progress for our future. She knew I had made up my mind, so then she said, okay, fine then, go and work hard. I left for the city. I found a job at a nightclub, bartending. When I left, my girlfriend was sad and worried for us, but I assured her I'll work hard and we'll be back soon. At the nightclub, there were so many beautiful women. And then I met a woman who also worked there with me. She was gorgeous, so I thought I'd kill some time with her while I was there, just for fun. She was very experienced and easy. She also shared with me the money she made from her after-hour duties. So I stuck around her, but in my head, I reminded myself that it was only to pass the time, and she is not the type I would marry. I was still going to marry my girlfriend back home. I went back home once a month. I was living a double life. When I returned home, I would give my girlfriend money each time, the money I made from the city. She was happy, but worried at the same time. She wanted to know when I was coming back for good so that we can get married. I told her to be patient, but Each time when I left again, her eyes would tear up, and she would watch me leave until I disappeared. In the city, I still called my girlfriend every day. Then one day she said to me, "Are there more job openings? I want to come work with you too." I told her, "No, just keep working at the farm. There's not a job here for you. Plus, I shouldn't be here much longer. I want to come back soon to marry you." I began lying to her more as I got more attached to my nightclub girlfriend. After a while, I started getting more jealous of my nightclub girl, upset by the attention she was getting from men and her after hours time with them. She would get jealous and mad at me too when I talked to other women. It seemed our attraction and love for each other was growing, and then one day she suggested for us to rent a place together. She said, "That way, you don't have to worry about paying rent. I'll pay all the rent, and you don't have to work at all. I can work for the both of us." She didn't want me working there anymore. She was jealous at the women there too. But I told her I needed to work so I could send money back home too. She said she'll give me however much money my parents needed. It sounded like a good deal to me, so I agreed to move in together. I reminded myself that this was just temporary. For fun, my real woman is back home. So I quit my job, and we would sleep in all day until evening when it was time for her to go to work. And then I would call my girlfriend back home. Then one day, my girlfriend said she was coming to the city to visit me. So that day, I lied to my nightclub girl that I was leaving back home for the day, but she'd be back home later in the evening. I met up with my girlfriend when she arrived. She said to me, "It's no wonder you don't want to come back home. Life is so much better here in the city, isn't it?" Her face looked sad, but I assured her, "I cannot wait to come back home. I just need to work a little longer to save more money." She did not sound convinced. Instead, she suggested for me again to come back home. She cried to me. She missed being with me every day. Most of all, I could tell she didn't trust me being alone here in the big city. I thought about leaving the city to go back home, but my heart was now torn between her and my nightclub girl. My nightclub girl took care of me well and loved me very much too. My girlfriend wanted me to send her home, so I did. When we got home, she brought up marriage again, asking when I would marry her. That I keep making excuses. Do I really love her? I convinced her that the time will come soon for us to get married. Tears fell down her face, and she said, "Okay then. You don't love me as much as you say. I know you're just lying to me. It seems you're still enjoying your bachelor life too much." I tried to cheer her up and told her, "Just 2 more months and let's elope." She wasn't that convinced, but finally I left back to the city. When I returned to the city, my nightclub girl wasn't home. She was out as usual, making money from men, her after-hour duties. My dilemma grew. When my nightclub girl was home, she treated me well, paid for my expenses, and cooked meals for me. She seemed like a good housewife, too. It was difficult to just leave this life here, but I decided that no matter what, my woman at home is the woman I want to marry. As time went on, someone had found out and told my girlfriend at home that I was living with a woman in the city, that I wasn't even working either. So one day, my girlfriend called me. She wanted to meet up with me. She threatened to end our relationship. So I met up with her in the city. I couldn't imagine losing her either. She asked me one more time for us to elope, that I had to pick between her or my city girlfriend. I told her, "The time is not right yet." She cried. I didn't know what to do, but I made the promise to her again and then finally told her I needed to go back and pack my stuff and will return home the next day. It had now been a year since I've been in the city. I sent her back home and went back to the city to pack my stuff. As I was packing my stuff, my nightclub girl was not happy. She told me to marry her. I told her I didn't want to get married and was moving back home. She said for me to take her with me. Then she handed me a pregnancy test she had taken. She said, "I'm pregnant with your child. You have to marry me." I said to her, "You're such a liar. How can it be my child? You're with other men every single night. It can't be my child." She said, "It's yours only, so you have to marry me." I said, "If I was the only man in your life and that child was mine, then yes, I would marry you. But I am not, and that child is not mine. I'm not going to marry you." She was adamant, grew angry, and said she was going to marry me no matter if I left home for tonight. So I thought about all our good times and how good she was to me. Finally, I said, "But if I marry you, will you really be able to settle down with just me and quit your nightlife style?" She said yes. I would be the only man in her life. Her nightlife was just to make ends meet, not something she enjoyed doing. I then made the hard decision to take her back home with me. We eloped. Someone later saw me coming home and told my girlfriend. She was ecstatic and called me, but I didn't pick up. I didn't know how to tell her that I had eloped. My parents were shocked and disappointed that I married a nightclub girl. It wasn't long before my girlfriend heard the rumors that I had gotten married. She was so hurt and cried so hard. My girlfriend remained good friends with my sisters, so one day she accommodated my sister to our garden. That day, I glanced at her, and her face was filled with sadness. I had my wife with me the entire time. She had told my sister she wanted to see me one last time. Shortly afterwards, my wife suggested for us to return to the city for work. She didn't like the countryside and all the labor she had to do. But in the beginning, she worked hard and diligently, no complaints. She soon gave birth, and then I heard that my girlfriend had met a new man from the city and had gotten married. I felt the pain, but there was nothing I could do. When she got married and moved away, I no longer knew about her whereabouts. 5 years went by, and my wife and I now had 2 children. We then moved back to the city to open a shop. I stayed home mostly to watch the children while my wife was at the shop. Little did I know she was flirting with random men who came through the shop. She lied to them and told them she was divorced. She scouted the rich men. Then she started making personal appointments with them. She would secretly meet up with them, and after their business, they would give her money. There would be days she would randomly close the shop to meet with these men instead. The shop wasn't doing as well, so my wife told me to watch the shop instead so she could find a job. She found a job at a restaurant. They paid her pretty well. Not long afterwards, my wife and the owner started having an affair. She didn't spend very much time at home anymore. She continued scouting rich men. And then she met another married man who had a lot of money. This man, however, wanted to keep her as his mistress. He bought her her own car and place to live. My wife didn't come home for months at a time by now. When she did come home, I would stop her from leaving again. We argued and fought each time. I tried so hard. I didn't want our life to fall apart. I was home alone with the children all the time. One day, I took my children to the store with me. When we got there, I saw my wife at a distance. She was with another man. He was buying her groceries, but they left quickly in his car. We followed and ended up at a hotel. I went up to the room, pounded on the door. They opened the door, and I was so angry. I made a huge scene. I told the man, "Why are you with another man's wife?" He said, "She told me she's divorced." I was so angry. I slapped my wife. The man was actually kind of afraid because he was still married. And so he actually gave me some cash for me to keep quiet, to not tell his wife. My wife told me she no longer wanted to marry me. She wanted to live the poor life, she said. And then she just told me to forgive her. Even so, I was still waiting for her to return. But she returned only to file for a divorce. We went through with the divorce, and I decided to keep my kids here in the city. One day, out of the blue, I took my kids to the mall. That same day, I saw my old girlfriend. She was sitting. She also had 2 kids now. 10 years had passed since we last saw each other. I remember her being very innocent and beautiful, but that day she looked stunning. She dressed well. Her husband was occupied with their kids, so I went up to talk to her. I said, "Wow, what a wonderful day to see you here. How have you been?" She looked up at me and smiled and said, "It's good to see you. I am doing well. And how about yourself?" I told her, "My life didn't go as planned. I am divorced now. Do you still think about me and miss me at all?" She said, "Don't talk about those old times. It was so long ago." But I told her, "I regret the path I chose. I should have married you that day." But she only said, "Don't think about me anymore. It's just the past." Then I watched in envy as her husband came back with the children. They walked away looking like the perfect family. It hurt so much. I made the biggest mistake of my life to let her go. But I was happy she moved on and had a good life. This story ends here. Please remember to help like this video and subscribe to this channel for more stories on people's true life experiences.